Good morning. How are you?
Wait, is it a Dalmatian or a Great Dane?
It's a it's a big Dalmatian.
Okay. It's a giant
Definitely a Dalmatian.
Dalmatian just French kissed you. All right. So listen, there is a lot going on. First, let's talk about in terms of what's most significant. The Fulton County District Attorney. It's Fawny Will. Is it Fawny Willis?
Fawny.
Yes. She was granted her request for a special grand jury investigation on the pressure campaign against Georgia officials in the 2020 election. So, what? Okay, that's my dog. That's my dog saying hello to your dog. So, Jill, what is the point of a special grand jury? Because obviously she's not getting. I was talking earlier about the low bar we set for Republicans these days. That Brad Raffensperger did the right thing one time. Mike Pence did the right thing one time. I guess Bill Barr is at least talking to them now. But why wouldn't he just come talk? I mean, she has to do this because he and others will not cooperate, right? She has to get subpoenas.
She needs subpoenas, and she could use a normal grand jury. A normal grand jury in Georgia sits for about 2 months and hears many, many cases, just the routine cases that come into a courthouse: burglaries, robberies, murders, all the normal things that a local grand jury would do. A special grand jury can sit for up to a year, has a supervising judge, which means that when you have a recalcitrant witness, there's someone to do something about it immediately. It doesn't take a long time to get attention. So it allows them to focus on one case and one case only, which means that the DA in Fulton County is taking very seriously the election fraud possibilities. And it was necessary because Brad Raffensperger, who recorded the phone call,
Right.
Which is a miracle because he had a prior phone call that he didn't record, and then it got denied by the other person, which is what led him to record this phone call.
Yeah. But also, can I just say, to cover his own ass, and now he's also written a book. I mean, do you feel the same way I do quickly, and then we'll go back to the grand jury, that this is cowardice, that Bill Barr and, Mike Pence, they didn't speak out during the impeachment, that, they all are selling books. And, again, and I feel like if there was any way within the law, they would have done anything for Donald Trump, Pence and Barr. It's only because there was no evidence that they were forced to do the right thing.
We know, at least as to Barr, that there are some things that I would say probably crossed the line.
Right.
So that he did things that I don't think were justified.
Right.
Maybe they fell within the fine lines of legal, but they certainly weren't appropriate for an attorney general. And probably they were worse than that.
Right. And he's our attorney general. He owes the American people what happened. He is the American people's attorney general, and he owes us the truth about what happened in this coup, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. And, better late than never, but better during the impeachment when it might have had a difference. When we might be free from the threat that Donald Trump would run again, if he had been impeached, he could have then been barred forever from running from office. He still can be. I mean, if he's convicted of insurrection, that's one of the grounds for barring someone forever from office. So there is still the possibility that he won't darken our door again.
Yes.
But right now, he still can run. He could run even if he was convicted of certain crimes, even though he might be in a state like Florida that takes away your right to vote. Although they've passed a law to give it back, there's still some tricks that the state is playing about, well, you have to pay all your fines or else you can't vote. So he might not be able to vote, but he could run for office. There's nothing that says a felon can't run for office, which is shocking, right?
All right? So let's go back to the grand jury. So the special grand jury cannot indict, but she feels she needs it because enough people are not cooperating, like Brad Raffensperger. So, go ahead.
She needs it for subpoenas. And as I said, Raffensperger, although he obviously cooperated, is not willing to testify without having a subpoena. So, and there may be others, but we certainly know that he has said, I need a subpoena to come and testify. So she had to get subpoena power. She could have used a regular grand jury for that purpose, but then she couldn't have pursued in depth and at length other witnesses and other areas of possible concern. So it was good, and she wouldn't have had the supervising judge. So getting a special grand jury was a good move on her part.
Why is it not seated until May? I don't ever understand the delay.
I don't understand the delay in any of these things. Why is Bannon's trial in July? I mean, really, how much time do you need to prepare for? The government needs no time. It's already proved its case. He refused to come in. He didn't come in. He made public statements about not coming in. Their case is proved. What do they need? And whatever legal research they're doing, it's already done. They don't need to do so that makes no sense to me either. I don't know why it's delayed.
So let's talk about these latest developments. There's so many. I mean, you'll tell me what you think are the most significant legal developments. But John Eastman, author of the coup memo, has pled the fifth 146 times when asked about the coup memo. His former, Chapman University, his former university, supports a subpoena from the House, the January 6th committee requesting 19,000 emails from him relating to his work for Trump to overturn the election. They said Eastman's use of their server to conduct that business was improper, unauthorized, and likened it to contraband. So, what do you make on the Eastman front? I mean, I don't know how much clearer this gets. This coup.
It is very clear. The January 6th committee is doing a brilliant job of making known to the public enough information to see that this was not just some rogue actors on their own, that this was a coordinated conspiracy. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, is that all of these things are pieces of an overall conspiracy. Eastman, Clark, Giuliani, Powell, Jenna Ellis, they're all part of this conspiracy. And then you have the horrifying executive order, which was never signed, but which is in presidential papers, that said, let's use the military to seize voting machines. That is a violation of everything in American democracy. It's a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, but it's even more than that. We would never expect the military to be used for law enforcement purposes, for corrupting an election. That's against the law. And the fact that it was even proposed shows how desperate they were to keep power, despite the fact that they had clearly lost the election.
Yeah. Well, I saw you on MSNBC talking about this Boris Epstein interview on Ari Melber. I imagine the prosecutor in you is like, oh my God, keep talking. And the regular attorney in you is like, oh my God, shut up. Like, this is just more. Right. You said Republicans who signed this false documents claiming to be electors when they weren't and then submitted to the government is a crime. Again, Jill, those of us that aren't lawyers, we're like, how is that not a crime? And then you explain it to us so we can understand it. Because I'm like, what? You responding to Epstein, you said he didn't do it because he just said, oh, it was all legal, or it was all legal, which proving something isn't legal just because you say it is on TV. You said You can't create a fake slate of electors. You said it's fraud and a conspiracy to interfere with the election, conspiracy to interfere with an official congressional proceeding, and conspiracy to commit forgery within the federal laws and state laws. That's the one I would think that is easily understandable for most of us, is you can't forge documents with an official government seal and submit them, correct?
Exactly. And, at first, I actually had to do some research on this, because when we think of forgery, we think of counterfeit dollar bills. Mm-hmm. And that is the primary concern of our laws about forgery, is a counterfeit government security. But there is one section that allows prosecution for creation of other government-related documents. And this is clearly an other government-related document. It was intended to create confusion on the January 6th vote, to confirm the ascertained votes that had been submitted legally and legitimately by the states. And the one question I have, and I hate to raise this because no one else has, so it must be my hearing, but if you listen carefully to the statement of Boris Epstein to Ari Melber, in the interview, which was quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
It does sound like everything we did was illegally done. I know he meant to say was legally done, and in every sentence after that he says legally.
Right.
But that first reference, if you listen carefully, my husband and I both said, "Whoa."
I heard that. I heard that too, Jill.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that it wasn't
I
just
heard it.
us.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't mean that. It's sort of
like Mitch McConnell didn't mean that African Americans aren't real Americans. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Yes, and Donald Trump said, "Get me 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have." What he meant is it's one more than we need.
Yeah.
But he did say have. So,
yeah.
I mean, he clearly meant need.
Well,
there's no question about that.
You said that they said we are duly elected electors. That is clearly forgery. And you said there was no contingency in existence. It was clear who won the votes in that state. We have a rule where we count the votes of the people, not the people who wanted it to be someone else. And you were saying we should amend the Electoral College Act. We should eliminate the Electoral College. But you said even under laws now, there was nothing legal about what they did.
Exactly. And there was, there are 7 states that submitted these formatted fake slates of electors. 2 of them actually changed the language that was submitted by the Trump campaign, and they added words that said, "This is good only in the event that the legitimate slate of electors is ruled out of order." But the other 5 simply said they were duly elected electors. They were not duly elected. And in fact, some of the names on that weren't even on the ballot. They were just people who filled in when people who had been on the ballot said, "Well, we weren't duly elected. I'm not signing this."
Yeah.
So in order to have enough names, they just recruited people
that would lie. Yeah. Yeah. You know what we need?
Where they got from.
You know what we need to bring back is that old show, To Tell the Truth. Don't you think? You don't know how to tell the truth. I'm a Wisconsin elector. No, you're not. No, you're not a Wisconsin elector. Jill, so yeah, but you also tweeted about, you were on TV to talk about this conspiracy of fake electors, and you said Pence counted only real votes, but evidence suggests he knew about the conspiracy. Speaking of the cowardice of, I don't care if Pence or Barr or Raffensperger did the right thing once, they still owe us the truth about this. Pence clearly knew about this.
Well, we have to hope that he and his staff will cooperate with the January 6th committee, and even more importantly, with the Department of Justice in this investigation. And the reason I said that it seems he knew is, why would he add those extra words? There are certain words that the vice president, sitting as the president of the Senate, reads about, "We will now count the ascertained ballots." He added words that said, "And I am assured that this is the only ballot submitted from this state," which happened to be in reference to Alabama.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have added those words. They aren't part of the normal thing that for years and years and years you've heard vice presidents say in counting the ballots. So that suggests that he knew that there was this plot afoot. Why didn't he speak up then, sooner? I guess, as you said in the beginning, the bar is very low for Republicans. So we are grateful that he did one thing right on this occasion, and I am, because it did eliminate a possible chaos. And so we're grateful, but it's not enough. It's not enough. He has to now do his job and go forward.
And by the bar, we mean Bill Barr. The Bill Barr is very low for Republicans. Okay. One last one. You've tweeted about Ivanka, and you said the former president has no executive privilege to neither do any of his former aides or family. We all look forward to the public hearings. Boy, howdy. Mm-hmm. I was happy to know that at 40, you are still a child, because according to Jody's mother, Carol Burnett, I am 40. So I'm glad that I'm still technically a child, if you're going by Trump children.
Yes. It's absurd. And I would point out that they are not just Trump's children. Mm-hmm. They were active co-conspirators. Ivanka was working in the White House as an aide, which puts her in a completely different category than, the other two children, who are, of course, all of them have been subpoenaed in New York in connection with the fraud of the business.
Yeah.
But this is a different kind of fraud. Yeah. And, you had people, Don Jr. spoke at the rally. Mm-hmm. That puts him in a different category. So their culpability is their own culpability and has nothing to do with being his children any more than the culpability of all of the members of Congress who either spoke or took actions to direct the insurrectionists to different places, or who voted against confirming the vote when they knew there was no fraud. There is no fraud. The only fraud that we know of is Donald Trump's trying to get 11,780 votes in Georgia and trying to get a fake slate of electors and et cetera, et cetera. That's where the fraud is.
Yep.
And I know I'll get hate mail for this. That's just what happens when you say the truth nowadays.
Yep. And I will testify that Ivanka and I are still in daycare together. Quickly, the Voting Rights Act of 65 requires that minority opportunity districts be drawn so that they have at least 50% minority voting age population. But when Republicans drew the new Alabama electoral map, they sliced up the districts to marginalize people of color, which is essentially an effort to ensure there will not be any districts represented by Democrats. The map was taken to court, announced Monday. The GOP had lost the case. Currently, just 1 in 7 districts are minority specific in a state with 27% of the population being black. It now goes to the Supreme Court, though. What is voting rights enemy John Roberts going to do?
It's 6 of them. It's not just John Roberts. Yeah. It is really terrifying because, when we all complained about the Supreme Court taking away the rule of the old law that said that before states who had a history of discrimination could make changes to their voting, it had to get approved by the Department of Justice. Well, that meant that it would have gotten approved by the Bill Barr Department of Justice or the Rosen Department of Justice. So I'm not so sure that even gives us the protection we need.
Yep.
And we're going to have to do a lot more. And right now, my biggest fear in terms of voting rights is taking away the counting of the votes from independent people and putting it in the hands of the state legislature. That's the worst.
I've gone super long. I just want to be like that Dalmatian, be able to give you a big kiss in person. But in the meantime, The Watergate Girl is the book. It's fantastic. It's going to be a movie. And Sisters-in-Law is the best podcast out there for legal stuff. We love you, Jill Winebanks. See you next time.